Hey everybody, and happy Monday. It is May 1st. Crazy, it's already May. Wild stuff. But yeah, I'll be breaking down the two-game NBA slate today here on DraftKings for the NBA playoffs. We got the 76ers versus Boston, and we got the Phoenix Suns versus the Denver Nuggets. So, two great games to watch. 100K up top to first place. I'll be doing a game-by-game breakdown as well as going over my favorite early look core plays. I'm going to recap my lineups from the other day as well. And yeah, we're going to get into this breakdown. Make sure to check out my PrizePicks video, which will be out after this. And let's get into it. As always, make sure to follow me on Twitter at HeartDFS just to stay updated. I'll talk DFS, answer any questions you guys have, all that good stuff there. Recap from my lineups. This is my lineup from Saturday night. We only had a one game slate between the Suns and Nuggets. So it was a showdown slate. I told you guys how I was rocking with Kevin Durant, and I ended up trying out the strategy where you take a guy who's 1,000, basically, take a zero. And it also kind of worked out where for this slate, I was doing that strategy, and then I saw Jock Landau down there at 1,000. I was like, if I'm going to play a guy who's the flat minimum price tag, it's going to be him just because he has that small chance of actually playing due to foul trouble to Aiton. And that's kind of what happened. Aiton got in foul trouble. Biombo was in a little bit of trouble, but they also just didn't play Biombo in the second half. They went to Jock Landau, who's a little bit better offensively over him. And so he actually got like 4 or 5 points. Um, I think he has like 4 points in just normal time. And then obviously he got a few more points there in the blowout. So it actually worked out there. I still would have cashed even with zero from him. So the zero strategy does work. But yeah, I went with Durant. I talked about how I really liked him. He was only, I think Jamal Murray had 88 fantasy points as the captain. Kevin Durant had obviously 81. So he's only 7 points off there from being the optimal captain. And then I jammed in Jokic, jammed in Murray. I just talked about how I really, really like both of them. I went with Okoji. He got the start, and he was just god awful. What did he finish at? 19 minutes. Yeah, he did nothing out there, so that was pretty annoying. Bruce Brown was great, and then Jock Landau was solid there. So that was my lineup there. Easily cashed, $15. Decent day there. And then yesterday, I missed cash on the normal slate here in the showdown slate by 5 fantasy points because of De'Aaron Fox. Super frustrating. I've been banging the drums since like the second game of the Kings Warriors series that Steph was going to have a game where he goes off for 35, 40 real life points. If you guys can watch all my videos back of the Warriors Kings games, I've said it like 100 times in this series, and it finally happened. So yeah, I've been jamming Steph into my lineups, as you guys know, pretty much every game so far this series, and it finally happened. He went off for 74 fantasy points, 50 real life points. It was fantastic, but obviously quickly was terrible. It was super frustrating because I originally had quickly here, and then I had Obi Toppin at the power forward spot, and I just did not feel great about having that many Knicks players, and so I switched out of um, Lowry to go to quickly, and then I switched over from Obi Toppin to go to Martin to kind of get like one and one from either side, and it obviously didn't work out. Kyle Lowry went for like 45, which is super frustrating. Obi Toppin went for like 32, so would easily cash if I had those two in there. And then yeah, De'Aaron Fox, which is very chalk, 60%, and then did nothing. Had his worst game of the playoffs, which is super frustrating. So yeah, barely missed cash, but barely missed the cash because of that. But I'm just happy I got the stuff. I finally got the Steph game that I've been calling for a few days. So that was nice to see there. But yeah, looking to the core plays have been really really solid the past week or so. So looking to continue that into tonight here for this two-game slate. So starting off here with the Philadelphia and the Boston side here. I'm going to look up the odds real fast. I think it's a 10-point spread in this game. So there is some blowout risk, and that the reason is why is because of Joel Embiid. He is doubtful. He was present at shoot around today. So keep that in mind. The spread is now 9.5. So it went down half a point. Boston's still favored, and it's a 214 game total. And the Phoenix Suns and Denver Nuggets right now is a 4-point spread and a 227.5 game total. So obviously, the second game looks like a little bit better of a game environment, a little bit less blowout risks, but it's anything can happen. This game could actually stay close, even if Joel Embiid doesn't play. So I wouldn't write it off too fast here. But yeah, with Embiid, him doubtful. I guess there's a chance he might play. As I said, he was at shoot around, so maybe they go to Embiid here for the first game today and play him some sort of minutes. I think he'd just be a super contrarian and kind of risky play just because we don't know if he'd get his full minutes. I'm assuming if he was going to play, he probably would at least like 25 to 30. But as no one knows. So it's like one of those things like you could take that shot if he's going to play, um, and land on him because he'd probably be like 10% or less. And obviously, if he had a very solid game, that'd really, really help out your lineup. But with him, I'd say most likely out. Obviously, the guys who get a big, big bump are going to be Harden, Maxey, and Harris. All three of them look very, very, very solid. All three of them are coming at great, great price tags. I think you're going to want at least one of that three, if not two. Then you can even do all three. And then for the center option, it's either going to be Paul Reed starting, or maybe they get weird, go with Harrell. They could always get weird and go with Deadman, but I think it'll be Paul Reed here. He started last game, went for 36 fantasy points. He's a very solid point per minute guy, kind of a high energy guy. He does get in foul trouble at times, so there's that risk of him fouling out and getting in massive foul trouble. But he comes in at a very solid price tag. We'll just have to wait and see what they do with the starting lineup. But the three main guys you want to get a piece from are Harden, Maxey, and Harris. All their usage goes up. They all get a huge, huge bump there. Melton, probably going to be a very, very popular value piece for today. He's another guy who sees a usage bump just because they could also insert him into the starting lineup, go a little bit smaller and throw just like the starting lineup would probably be Harden, Maxey, Harris, Melton, and then maybe they could go with Reed, or maybe they could go with Tucker at center, or as I mentioned, like a Harrell, a Deadman. So they could definitely go small. Boston's not very, very big. Al Horford's probably like 6'9" center. So they could easily go smaller and throw in Melton. If not, him off the bench, I still think it's a very solid play. If anyone gets in foul trouble, anyone's doing poorly, they will throw in Melton, who's a very solid defender, and he can hit a shot. So we've seen huge, huge games from him. Even in a limited amount of time, he's been pretty solid. But we've seen games where he gets extended run and he can go for 40 plus. So I do really like Melton as one of my favorite plays. So it's hard not to like at least two or three guys here from the Sixers side, just because of how cheap they are, how much usage they will have when most likely Joel Embiid sits for tonight. But obviously, we have to wait for that confirmation. In terms of other plays, you could definitely take a shot on PJ Tucker. Like, he will play the minutes. They're going to need his defense. He's just obviously a very, very bad point per minute guy. But you could get one of those games where, as you can see here, he went for 28. Obviously, 5 steals really helps. But he's in the dart throw consideration. Same thing with Montrezl Harrell. He only played 5 minutes in that last game there versus Brooklyn when Joel Embiid was out. Obviously, Paul Reed started. He was doing well. Montrezl came in for 5 minutes, and that was the only minutes he saw. So he's a very, very risky dart throw just because we don't know if he'd play. And then I do like taking dart throws on McDaniels and Niang if you want to get some, pretty cheap guys. If you're going to be paying up for Jokic, you're probably going to need to dip down to some of these people, especially if you're going to get to some of those other 76er players. McDaniels should see, I'd say, at least 15 minutes, if not more. He can get you there in that amount of time, especially if it gets extended. Let's say like Tobias Harris gets ineligible. You could see extended minutes for Jaden McDaniels. And Niang should see around 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more if he's hitting some shots. I'd rather take that shot on McDaniels. But yeah, both of them are definitely in dart throw consideration down there. And I guess you could take an absolute dart throw and Shake Milton, but I don't think there's a need. But yeah, that's it for the Philadelphia side. On the Boston side, all the Boston guys are just way too cheap. Not really sure why. The pricing is just wild on Boston right now. Tatum 9.9 looks fantastic. Brown looks great at 8.2. He's really turned it on the past 3 games, 30 or more points in 3 straight. So they both look fantastic here in this spot. Marcus Smart, White, Brogdon, Horford, Williams, all in the mid-range look fantastic. So it's one of those things where, like, it's really hard not to like a ton of people from the Boston side. The standouts to me would probably be Brown and Tatum. And then I'd say Brogdon and Horford are kind of the 4 I'm kind of eyeing. But once again, everyone comes at a pretty much a similar price tag. So it really comes down to kind of ownership. Like, if someone's going to be extremely, extremely high owned, like let's say like a Derek White, everyone's laying on Derek White for some reason. I'd rather take shots on guys like Marcus Smart and Brogdon who have the similar upside and similar floor. So it's one of those things that it really just comes down to ownership for this section here. Brogdon, obviously of the guards, he is the riskiest just because his minutes aren't always guaranteed. Like, he's the most productive out of Smart and White when he gets those minutes. It's just one of those things where Smart and White start. Brogdon kind of gets limited at times. But yeah, I think they all look great right now. Robert Williams, we know he has a massive ceiling. It just, can he get the minutes? Last game, he only saw 17. Still went for 3 blocks and 2 steals. He's just super, super productive. We saw that game there against Atlanta, 29 minutes. He went for 44. So we know he has huge, huge upside. This could be another spot where he is a very solid game just because, Philadelphia is a little bit undersized. So it would definitely benefit Robert Williams not having to guard a Joel Embiid. So I like him. I think Horford's been a very safe play. He's not super aggressive offensively, but he's been stuffing the stat sheet even without taking shots. So I do like him a good amount. I'd say right now I'm kind of landing towards going to Brogdon there at 4,900 and Al Horford at 52. And then moving on to this Phoenix and Denver game here. On the Phoenix side, kind of the same breakdown always. Durant, Booker, Paul, Ayton, all going to play huge, huge minutes. Durant and Booker have pretty much been playing the whole game. They lost about 5 to 6 minutes there in that last game just because of the blowout. Like Durant pretty much sat the last 7 minutes of the game. So he would have got 40 plus once again. He was off to a great start. I think he had 20 points in the first half and then didn't do much in the second half. Obviously, they got blown out. But yeah, once again, it's really hard not to love Kevin Durant just because of the minutes. You can't argue with minutes. All you want in DFS is guys to have secure and just secure minutes. And Durant's got the most secure minutes we've ever seen. Same to Devin Booker. They're running these guys into the ground. I don't know how it's going to last. It's just, especially for Durant, who's like 75 years old, playing him 40, pretty much the whole game. I mean, I don't think that's going to be a great recipe for success, but that's what they're doing right now. And you can't argue with the minutes. So I'm locking them in. Same thing in Devin Booker, 9,200. I mean, he's playing 40 plus minutes. He's shooting the ball great. He's been super aggressive. Really hard not to like both of them just because of the minutes and the usage of the production. Chris Paul looks very solid in the mid range. You're not going to get like a huge fancy game from Chris Paul, but if he's having a solid game, playmaking and getting guys involved, he can go, as you can see here, for 51. So I like him. 35 is kind of like his floor right now, as you can see. He can go for 40 plus. So he looks very solid in the mid range. Ayton's always going to be a very solid contrarian option. It's just, can he stay out of foul trouble? If he can, he's another one of those plays where he can go from mid 30s into the 40s. So all four look great. In terms of the value plays, I don't know what to make of Torrey Craig and Josh Okogie. Okogie at the start, but Craig ended up getting the closing run. A few games before that, it was Craig getting the start and Okogie getting the closing run. So it's like, I guess you can land on either one of them. It really comes down to ownership. And then in terms of the bench, I'm not sure what's happening. I don't know why they keep playing Landry Shamet. He's just god awful. If you're going to go for someone who's a scorer off the bench, why not go for the guys you sign? Why not go for a Terrence Ross? Why not go for a TJ Warren? They are better scorers, or Shamet may be a slightly better shooter, but overall better scorers. TJ Warren's a way better scorer than Shamet. Same thing with Terrence Ross. They're way better scorers, and they're the same defensively. They're all terrible at defense, but if you're going to go for a scorer, go for one of those two over Shaman. So I don't know what they're going to do with this bench here. I do think we'll see some random people. Damian Lee got some random minutes there in that game. Bielmo dropped down all the way to 3,100. He did play 6 minutes, but then that was it because they went to Jack Landau as like the backup center. So I don't know what to make of the value options here, the dart throws. I think they're all dart throws. It's not like one standing out as like a huge, lock, but yeah, it is a lot of confusion down there with the coach and what's going to happen with those guys there. On the Denver side, Murray, it's gonna be hard not to land on him. Been fantastic these playoffs so far. Only 8,000, so I think it's a lot easier for obviously to get to him than it is to Jokic, who's almost 11K. We haven't seen a guy this expensive on the slates in like a week and a half, pretty much since the start of like the plans. So it's gonna be hard to get to him. Maybe if that keeps his ownership like 20% or less, even 25% or less, I think it'd be very, very wise to land on him because he had a very, very quiet, almost 2020 game, went for 55, and we know the upside of him is massive. And he's been aggressive. He shot it 21 times. Obviously, there's a blowout, so he did lose at least 5 minutes as well. So I do really like Jokic, depending on the ownership there. Murray looks great. And then more of like the mid-range, MPJ, Gordon, all fine plays. We know they have some upside. I prefer getting to MPJ. His upside's a little bit better. But yeah, they're both decent there. Bruce Brown, another value play who's going to be super popular. Should play mid-20s minutes. He's decently aggressive, and he's decently productive. And then KCP, if you want to pivot off of Bruce Brown, KCP would probably be your guy there for $100 cheaper. He's just not as productive. Sometimes they don't close with him, and they'll close with Bruce Brown. Jeff Green will be the backup to Jokic. You can take a dart throw on him. Same thing with Christian Brown. Seems like he was the kind of the guy off the bench that they're like going to. Very productive, got 4 steals. Wouldn't trust that, but I guess you could take a dart throw on him. But yeah, really, it's just kind of the same thing. Jokic, Murray look great. MPJ over Gordon, more decent options, and Bruce Brown's a fine mid-range play. So that is the breakdown for today. I will have my core plays up later today on my Patreon. I'll have a PrizePicks video out after this, and I hope you guys like the video. Hit that like button. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.